I only want to say before we have our keynote speaker to share with you that those assassinations continue. Within the last 3 weeks, there was an attempt to assassinate another son of Muammar Gaddafi. I happened to go to the house of Saif Gaddafi and came back with a freaky cold. I hope it wasn't depleted uranium I breathed. But if you were to see what happened when they destroy the African family, to destroy down to women and children and babies, and it's not just Congo. I had an opportunity to meet John Garang, or almost meet John Garang. I'm a little psychic. I kept trying to touch him, and something was pushing me back at the Washington Convention Center. I kept trying to get close to him. Something would push me back. And I took pictures, but I couldn't touch him. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Went to the Wyndham Hotel on 14th and Thomas Circle to hear John Garang speak again. And John Garang said what Patrice Lumumba said. The oil that's in Sudan belongs to the Sudanese people and to benefit the Sudanese people. And I'm a man, but I cry. I began crying hysterically in the hotel, and my friends from Sudan said, "What's wrong?" I said, "They're going to kill him within a year. They'll kill him outside the country on an airborne vehicle. I'm so sorry." We have to discover that we can't always say what we think. We must not trust anybody that we don't know is converted and committed to our cause. Yes. We must not trust. Yes. And this is very serious about trusting. As I speak to you, my father has stage 4 cancer, and he was at the Pentagon when something hit it. It didn't look like a plane, but ever since he went down there volunteering, he's had aggressive cancers. My father trusted. My father has stage 4 cancer. Africans, how long will we trust these people? Why do we have so little trust for each other and so much trust when these folks have a negative, exponentially negative credit rating that would last into the next millennium? Why do we trust? Without further ado, Dr. Malifia Asanté, the author of the Afrocentric idea, the one who brought the idea of Nomo, the truth that Lumumba spoke, that Nkrumah spoke, that Yaya Santua spoke, that the Pharaoh spoke. We have him here to bring Nomo for us at this moment. Please let us greet him with the applause worthy of a Pharaoh, Dr. Malifia Asanté.
Long live PanAfricanism. Long live Afrocentricity. Long live the African people.
All right.
Sisters and brothers, Afrocentrists and Pan-Africanists, progressives and radical Democrats, and I don't expect that there are any Tea Partiers here, but knowing this is America, there may be one or two. In America, you can't put it past any audience when you gather in America. I'm delighted to be here. And I want to say that, just being here and listening to Maurice and Peter and Chioma and even Randy with his comments, it really inspires me. I'm really inspired by their work and their understanding of what we're up against. And the fact that Brother Janaka brought us together here in this meeting, and his committee brought us here together. This is what should be happening all over the United States of America. In fact, it should be happening all over the world. I'm just delighted to be here and also to come and be on the same program with these outstanding activists. And to see also Darrell Harris here, the head of the political science department at Howard University, one of the great intellectuals in the field of Pan-African and Afrocentric thinking. I'm happy to see him here as a theorist. And Brother Sinfo from Germany was here somewhere. who has organized the African community in Germany. I went to speak for that community under his direction a few years ago. So I'm just delighted to be surrounded by all of you, because I know that being surrounded by you, we're surrounded by individuals who truly understand that we are gathered here perhaps for two main reasons. The first one I call a reason of sentiment, and the second one is a reason of discontent. So I want to try to deal with sentiment and discontent. But first of all, let me just say that the sentiment is that we believe very firmly in an independent, self-determining United States of Africa. Right. We believe in that. And we believe that given that belief and given the articulation of that aim and purpose on the part of some people on the continent of Africa, there have been many roadblocks. And in fact, now the European nations and the American nations have just organized to try to see what they can do to block this from happening. And what we're seeing basically on the continent of Africa now is this great scramble for this Africa that has found itself basically because of poor leadership in a situation of disorganization. I want to talk about the discontents too. The discontents that we have, at least mainly in terms of my own understanding and my own feeling, are discontents with particularly this government. The naive adventurism of the Obama administration has sort of surprised a lot of you, I'm sure. But it didn't surprise me. I lived in Zimbabwe, and I came to this country, came back to this country. We don't care what the Supreme Court said. You don't have any rights. This is a violation. Not only it is an appalling violation of Africa. Yes. And I think that what we're going to have to do is he said it so many times, Kwame Ture. He said, we've got to organize. And I'm believing that we got to organize youth. That's right. That's what, and I want to talk to you about that. We got to organize youth in Africa. We got to start talking about leadership. Leadership over and over again disappoints. In 2005, I was a good friend with the leader of Senegal, President Wade. Flew on the president's jet with the president, advised the president on different issues and so forth. Went to Abuja from Dakar with the president. And then the president decides that he wants to be a dictator. Now, here's a man who had, I thought, some clear ideas about PanAfricanism. And I think my friend Sinfo told me, look, man, you better be careful. I said, no, I think he's okay. But he wasn't okay. And so if you see that here's a situation where Wade decides that he wants to put his son in office. That when he's no longer president, Kareem will be president. And in fact, this is precisely why he went against Gaddafi, who had basically funded many of his operations. He stood up and went against Gaddafi because he thought that the French and the Americans would like an Akhenaten. You know, this is a tragedy. But it's a tragedy because in Africa, just as in the United States of America, we have never required our leaders to speak in the interest of the people. We never required it. We just say, as we heard earlier when Peter Bailey was reading about Whoopi Goldberg and Clarence Thomas. I mean, nobody, I don't hear any criticism about those folks. They're out there. They're out there against the interests of black folk.
That's right.
And yet, what we discover in America is the same thing we discover on the continent of Africa, that we have a situation like we have in Cote d'Ivoire because we have a poor understanding of how to control our leaders. And we've got to deal with that, and I have some suggestions for us later on. Other thing we need to deal with is Libya.
That's right.
Now, this is a clear attempt to kill a leader of another nation.
That's right.
This is, and the reason, of course, is again the same issue of resources. And Cote d'Ivoire is the same thing. I mean, it's a rich country in West Africa. It's one of the pearls of Africa in terms of its wealth, and they know that. And the French, if the French didn't have the chocolate that came from Cote d'Ivoire, just the chocolate, they would die. They would die for the chocolate from Cote d'Ivoire. So you got to control it. Control the whole industry. Control everything that comes out of there. And I know for a fact, because I'm from Philadelphia, that Ouattara is a Burkinabe. Because when he went to the University of Pennsylvania, that's the way he claimed himself.
I'm gonna stand on that.
I know that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, they wanted to put their person in office. No, I think we are onto something. I really do. I mean, if you take the Obama situation, this is a great tragedy for us in many ways, particularly about Africa, the continent.
Amen.
I mean, there may be some things that people say, yeah, he did this and did that, but when you look at Africa, his Africa policy is a disaster. There's nothing in Africa. There's nothing in the Obama Africa policy that's good. You can't point to one thing that's good. Whether it's the continuing support for AFRICOM, he may not have established it, the idea, but he supported. Whatever you take. And I saw it almost the first few months he was in office. You know what happened? You remember it. When the delegation came from Zimbabwe, he refused to see in his office the representative from ZANU, from Mugabe's party. Left him out in the lobby. I said, look at that. Sellout.
Always has been.
That's what I said. I said, what is this? Does he understand Zimbabwe? Who are the people? And then I said to myself, I know some of them, but I asked myself the question anyway again, who are these people who surround him with the African policy? Who are these people who advise him? What kind of individuals, who is he listening to? Do they know Africa? I don't care whether they're at the UN or as assistant secretary for African affairs, they don't know what they're doing. Or if they do, he doesn't. There's a terrible situation going on here. Everything, you go down the line in Africa, and in the progressive interest of Africa, the Obama administration has been against them. This is the fact. And I wonder what will happen in South Sudan. Because, the whole issue has always been in South Sudan. And in South Sudan, Sudan is complicated, number one. It's much like Congo. Congo is as large as all the states east of the Mississippi.
That's right.
Sudan is as large as all the states in the United States east of the Mississippi. They're huge countries.
That's right.
You count all the states east of the Mississippi River. That's Congo. That's Sudan. That's big.
That's big.
And look at the complications. Right now, there's a revolt in Nubia.
Yes.
In the north of Sudan. They fight now. Of course, you heard about Darfur. But also the Beja are fighting. The Beja, who have been independent, they say, since history, they say, even in prehistory, we were independent. They want to be independent. And so what is happening is that they are bringing in people from outside Sudan to settle the regions of Nubia and the Beja regions in Sudan. It's a big issue. But the United States now is wobbling on this issue because, of course, they've got to compete with China. What are we going to do? But hopefully, in their minds, South Sudan will control most of the oil. And if South Sudan controls most of the oil, they will have an inroad into South Sudan. But then there's the Israeli factor in South Sudan. And the Israeli factor in South Sudan has been a factor that was also in Darfur. Because anytime you have fighting going on in the Sudan, Israel is happy about that, regardless of what's going on. And so you got this whole situation where they have stretched it out in some areas into a religious war. And this is what people have done. They say there's a religious altercation between the Christians and the Muslims. And I tell people, you know, I'm not a Christian nor a Muslim. And I don't have any interest in either one of them. I think that the only religion I have is African. And my interests are Africa. I live Africa every day. I wake up in the morning and I think Africa. That's all right. I mean, this notion that these people are tied up into trying to figure out how to maneuver one religion against another religion, that to me seems to be something that will get us nowhere. And it has never got us anywhere. I know y'all get quiet when I start talking about religion. Black people love when I start talking about religion. I'm not going to say nothing about God because I know right now I'll be in trouble. I know we don't like that talk about religion. You know, we get scared. You know, something's going to happen to us. You know, oh man, all right, wow, God. Okay, let me go quickly because my time is running out. Okay, I always tell people, you know, I have to say this because people say, well, you are an Africanist or a public intellectual. I said, no, I'm not an Africanist and I'm not a public intellectual. I'm an African and I am an activist intellectual. I believe in making things happen. I'm not profiling. Asante is not, it's not a career issue with me. I'm not standing here trying to make a career. I don't want to be on television. I don't need to be on television. My idea is how do you humanize the world? And how do African people gain control over their own destiny? That's what we have to do. And the only way we can do that is to be Afrocentric. This is why we have created the Afrocentricity International. You can go look it up, www.afrocentricityinternational.org. You look it up. It's an organization that is developed and led by a woman, Dr. Amma Mazama. The first time in history that we have a woman leading an international African, Pan-African Afrocentric organization with chapters being set up right now all over the world. That's what we're doing. And we're setting them up with young people. Because we say that what young people have to do, they have to force the people who gain leadership to decide, to support the various political goals and objectives of the Pan-African movement. If you're going to run for president of this country, then do you believe in the United States of Africa? Do you believe in Africa controlling its resources and so forth and so on? Those are the kinds of things that we have to do. And so that organization, Afrocentricity International, is just one part of it. There's another organization that we won't talk about because we don't know whether their Tea Party is here. But we have to deal quickly with this issue of an organization, international African organization that will be in every country. We will have them in France and in Germany, as well as in Nigeria and Ghana and South Africa and Cote d'Ivoire. an African organization devoted to African interests in the way that Marcus Garvey created an organization. That's the pattern that we want to do, because that organization would be strong. I got 3 minutes, so let me just quickly go quickly here on this 3 minutes. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that very kindly, because I was just getting wound up. But let me just say this. Let me just say about the United States of Africa. United States of Africa, we have to have that, because that's why we would solve a lot of problems on the continent if we have a United States of Africa. There's a lot of resistance to this. There's a lot of resistance to this. But let me just tell you, to have this, you have to have an ideology. That's what people don't understand. You can't just say be Pan-African and be Pan-African. You got to have an ideology. What's the ideology? What drives it? What brings these people together? The only thing that I have discovered that brings people together is Afrocentricity. And I've seen it in Paris. I've seen it in Colombia. People from all religions, all tribes. If you say we got an Afrocentric meeting, you get the Congolese will come, the Nigerians will come, because that's the thing, that's the driving force. What's the Afrocentric idea? The Afrocentric idea is that African interest trumps everything.
That's right.
Everything.
That's right.
So that when you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself the question, you get ready to do something, you say, is this in the best interest of Africa? Think of, try that. Try it. I try it every day. If it's a tough decision, say, which one of these things, if I do this, which is in the best interest of African people? Then you would discover the heart of Afrocentricity, which is the agency of Africa. And that's what young people in every country in Africa right now, they need to have that. And once they have that, then when we start talking about the United States of Africa, you're talking about not only the second largest nation in the world, you're talking about the third most populous nation in the world. After China and India, you got 1 billion people in Africa. You're talking about the wealthiest nation in the world, as Sister Anna told us earlier. The wealthiest nation in the world. Right now in Zimbabwe controls almost half of the world's diamonds. They just discovered it last year. And it shocked everybody. It's like, because they had said, we don't want Mugabe to be involved in any international organization. And then they said, okay, but if he has all of those diamonds, if he's not involved, he can sell them cheaper. We got to put him in. We got to bring him in. That's the thinking. But I said last year when it happened, I said if I were Mugabe, I would say I'm not going to join your organization. And that's what got Gaddafi into trouble with some of them. That's what they thought he was doing. Because Gaddafi said, if you got satellites going around here and you charging us these high prices to use your European satellites, we can put an African satellite up. They got mad. They said, you can't do that. He even said, you know what we can do? We can have our own money. We can get out of the CFA.
Get out.
Get out of CFA. We don't need that anymore. The French got Sarkozy said, you can't do that. If you do that, you kill France.
Good.
I have never supported this doctrine. I've never supported it in any way. This notion that if we don't say anything about white supremacy and white racial domination and Eurocentric hegemony in the world, that will go away. You have to say something. You have to encounter it every day and every time. And you can never. Part of our problem with the Congo and the force publique was, in fact, when we fought against it, there were some people who collaborated with the Europeans. Right. We have to call out collaborators. Call them out. Call their name. What kind of people are these? Who are they? They don't represent us. They may look like us, but they're not us. There are a lot of people like that. I mean, look, brothers and sisters and brothers, progressives and radical Democrats.
Is there such a thing?
I'm thinking about Cornel West now.
That's my
and all of you who are out there who claim some religion, and you too, rethink your religion for me. That's why I just want you to do that. And I want you to read, here's why I want you to do it. Because if it's against African people, then it's bad. If it won't allow you to be free, it's bad. And too many of our leaders in this country are preachers. I look at a program, you look at Tavis Smiley, what do you see? Preachers. Somebody asked me, Tavis Smiley never had you on this program. Why? I said, because I'm not a preacher. I'm not a preacher, and I disagree totally with the line that they are promoting. I'm against totally that line. That's not a line that can deliver equality and freedom and independence and transformation for black people. We have to be self-determining people. We have to take a radical position about who we are. And that question will give us the freedom to always say, long live Pan-Africanism, long live Afrocentrism.
Vous l'avez découvert ici. Que vous avez découvert Ivoire TV. Ivoire TV.